You want to pray, Papacitos?
Yeah, I'm just going to wait till we hear it go from Adam.
We're ready.
Oh, you ready? All right, let's start with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. Lord, thank you for healthy bodies to be here today. I pray that you just open the word to us, open the thoughts that you have towards us and towards others. Lord, let us understand your will and your direction.
Mm-hmm.
Father, I pray that you would just help us to have compassion, make a difference in folks' lives. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for the God that you are, Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I pray that you just direct us as we are sensitive to the things that you have to say. Lord, we love you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right, are we ready, Adam?
We're ready. 3, 2.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back to NGJ Studios. I'm Nathan Pearl. To my left here is Debbie Pearl, and there's my daughter Ashley, and here is my distracted father. Dad, what are you doing?
This is one of my birthday presents. It's from Robin and Sally, and it's all kinds of nuts. You know, like 12 packages of nuts, different kinds. That's great.
And since I can't keep him focused,
The
no
box,
more
I
presents for
wanna use
Dad.
The box for something too, and I guess this is a nice box. The lid, it's got a lock on it.
You can use it for your paints.
Yeah, it's something for something.
Who sent it?
I already told.
Oh,
Sally.
okay.
Sally
Yeah.
and Rob. All right.
Well, so Dad is now 80, and no more presents for a year, so that I can, keep him.
Yeah. Also, look at me. Somebody gave me this last week, and this is beard balm. I balmed my beard. It didn't blow it off, though. And this is got my picture on it. I discovered. It's got one for the old guy and one when I was young. Deb said, "Is that you? That looked like Robert Redford." Yeah.
More handsome than him.
Yeah, that's when I was young. And so that makes my beard, she said, not be so dry.
Actually, I've been using it.
You don't
But
have
now,
a beard, Mom.
now that I found the new young guy one, I'm going to start using it instead.
On your hair?
Yeah, I use it on my hair. When you get old, your hair gets dry, so
Well,
you'll find out.
I'll find out, I suppose. Hopefully not too soon. All right. Well, we are back, and we have a bunch of questions. Last week, there's been a virus going around, and Mom and I were both a bit puny last week. And
I
so
stopped it this week, though.
Dad stopped the
Good job.
virus with the strength of his beard balm. Okay, so let's get started, sweetheart. Go ahead.
First question. This one's going to be longer. It says, I would love to hear how you would set up your family if you live in a subdivision. My husband is in the military, and we have 6 children, 14-year-old son, 12-year-old female, 6-year-old female, 4-year-old male, and a 1.5-year-old son, along with my 5-month-old son. That's a lot of kids. Mm-hmm. It says, we have struggled because our children are like farm children without a farm. We have a small yard, and they tend to be a bit destructive when it comes to playing. I would love to hear how you and your wife would organize your day and activities without being able to keep them away outside on a farm or in a large yard. How would you still implement those strong, manly habits, and what would everyday play look like? Thank you so much for your time.
I guess this is
How old were the kids? 14, 12, 6, 4?
A year and a half and 5 months.
Okay.
Teenage boy.
Yeah, you know, my parents moved to a city when I was 12 years old, and it wasn't just a city. This was like the down and out section of town. They got pretty poor, and it was like, I mean, it was bad. You could hear the roaches rattling the dishes at nighttime, and right down in a bunch of housing projects and big old multi-story stuff. And of course, I was already a country boy, but I rode my bicycle a couple blocks and found a vacant lot. Got to messing around, found a bunch of snakes, and I went a couple more blocks and found I could access the underground culvert going under the city, and places where it was open, places where it was covered, and it was full of lizards and snakes and frogs. So I would get out of school and spend all my time down there. You might not want your kid in this day and age doing that. So what I would do is what my daddy used to do when I was young. He would bring home stuff from work, old paint, lumber, concrete blocks, anything, stack them up, and I would take that pallets or lumber apart, and I'd straighten the nails out. The way I get a nail is take an old nail and straighten it out, and then I would build stuff. I mean, I just built stuff all the time, and had a great time doing it. And then he'd bring home some old wheels or something, and I'd make some kind of push cart out of it. So we were always doing something, and we had to live in the city from the time I was 12 years old all the way up, but you couldn't take the country out of me after being out there for 12 years. So the boys, they need activity. They need to be pulling and pushing and shoving and lifting and toting and making something, being creative. They don't need to be in the house. They don't need to be, if they are, then they need some kind of creativity in the house.
You rebuilt bicycles too and
Yeah,
sold.
that's right. I did. I had every time we moved 14 times during my youth, and I had 2 pickup truckloads of bicycle parts every time we moved. I mean, literally 2 pickup trucks, because everybody'd give me their old ones, or I'd take the old
He's
ones.
the king of junk.
Found them in a junkyard, and then I'd take them apart. I'd take all the gears and the bearings out and put them in a kerosene bucket, so anytime anybody needed a bicycle repaired, I could repair it. But every time we'd move, he'd make me get rid of all of it but 1 truckload. The time we lived there a year, I had 2 truckloads, so I left bicycle parts all over Memphis moving around. So I had a great time and learned to adjust. So if that's what you've got to do, adjust to it. Find something for the boys to do, making stuff in the house, set a room aside, let them cut and paste and plaster and do whatever they need to do to make things work.
So I want to start by saying thank you for your service. There's nothing not difficult about that military life and raising the kids like that. And I've known quite a few families that do it, and I sure appreciate our nation. I appreciate the freedom I live in. Thank you for doing that. It's a tough spot. Don't come to it with a preconceived notion of what the kids have to be involved with. Sometimes they'll be wanting to play a cello. I don't know the kids. You say you've struggled with your children because they're farm-like children. I think that's pretty much all of our experience. If you've raised 4 or 5 kids, close together, it is a struggle. There's a lot to do there. 14-year-old boys are destructive. It's our nature. I saw a guy recently.
Tear it down, put it back together better.
I saw a guy recently that said boys need to play to the point of exhaustion every day. There needs to be an activity that you run till you're exhausted.
I'll tell you something I did. My daddy put up a horizontal bar, that you pulled yourself up, and I would play on that thing, and some of the guys would come over, and we would turn flips and hang. I could hang by 1 toe upside down.
Yeah.
Still do it if you put a strap around my ankle.
Well, I would say just depends on where you're at and what's around you. Seek it out and start with the view of not the kids need to be able to milk a cow or raise chickens, but the kids need to be busy until they're tired every day. And so what does that look like where you're at? When Ashley was little, we were living in Hawaii. I was pastoring a church, and I guess that was when I was running the metal business. Mm-hmm. And we were stuck in a little subdivision neighborhood, and we would go. Zephyr would take the kids. My wife would take the kids to the park and let them run around. And there were farm kids living in the middle of the city. And Kauai, where we were, has chickens running wild everywhere. And my daughter here loved birds, and she would chase them down and quote unquote rescue the little birds that
She brought me some feathers for my hat.
Yeah.
She plucked out.
So she would rescue these poor chicks that were just stranded there in a beautiful park with their mother, and collect them. And she would chase them all over. And one day she's across the field from my wife, and she runs into this hedgerow and is grabbing this little half-grown chicken. And my wife sees somebody come out and start talking to my daughter, and so my wife thinks that my daughter's in trouble. And so she goes to investigate, and Ashley turns around, and my daughter here comes running back to my wife, and she says, Zephyr says, well, what did the lady want? And she said she wanted to give me money. She
thought I was homeless and I was trying to eat the chicken.
She saw her chasing down chickens, and she wanted to give
I was so offended.
She wanted to give her money to go buy food so she wouldn't eat the chickens.
I don't want that homeless, guys.
You were kind of an urchin. But you know what? The kids were having fun. We were running around and making do where you're at. So I don't know where you're living or what's going around. go and find something for them to be in the midst of, whether it's piano playing or rebuilding a car or like Dad said, bicycles or chasing chickens, something that allows for creative expression. And I think that the best way to create creative expression is a lack of anything else to do. So get rid of the
boredom. Boredom's a great. Yeah.
You take an old radio apart. We took a Mom's popcorn maker apart and couldn't put it back together when I was a kid. Anything that, if you don't have a cell phone to watch or movies or an Xbox or whatever, you'll have to figure out something to do with your time. And so don't despair, and just depends on where you're at.
I can tell you 3 families right off the top of my head that were military, and the mother was left behind, the daddy was gone a lot of times, and what these 3 families did, and which one I think is most successful. One family got into doing lawnmowers, tearing lawnmowers apart, and the mother was a real clean, tidy type person, but the boys, the end result was not just tearing the lawnmowers apart and putting them back together and making them work, but making a living. That's how they made a living. And the other family, which we are all blessed because of this family, the mother was left behind with, I don't remember how many kids they have, but she decided they would all get involved in music and made them all take music lessons, which they did not appreciate at the time. And then she made them play together, which they might or might not have appreciated, I don't know. But now they play together, and they play apart, and they play forever. I mean, they are a tremendous blessing to a lot of people, and they have all done very well, and the mother had to basically do it herself. And she was kind of a neat freak. I think the military must make them. And the other family, the husband was gone a lot, and the wife turned the kids out on their little bitty backyard. I happened to be at their house one time, and the poor yard, the boys had dug every inch of it up and created car racing things, jumps and ponds, and it was the biggest mess you ever saw in your life. So she had to get stuff to create a fence that looked like, it wasn't a fence, but it kept people from seeing what was going on the inside. And they had a garden in that little tiny spot. And she did well with her children. That's 3 mothers that I've seen over the years that basically had to raise a large group of children by herself, and including boys, and it worked. I would hate to be in that position, but I really admired them. I just thought they were, and I still admire them, They did well.
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, carry on, Pumpkin.
Okay. It says, I have a question about head coverings. The Bible implies that it doesn't really matter if you wear a head covering or not, but I'm just curious about the verse where it says that you wear one because of the angels. I would greatly appreciate a bigger explanation on that. Thank you.
Well, the Bible does say a woman ought to have a head covering, and it gives you 2 options in 1 Corinthians 11. One of them is the head covering God gave you as a woman, which is long hair. That's the covering God gave. The second one is if you don't have a long hair, according to chapter 11, then you should cover your head. If a woman's hair is bobbed off or cut short, then she should have a head covering, but only when she prays or prophesies. The Jews and the Arabs are a really good example of this. If you go to a Christian Jewish fellowship, which I've been to, or a Hebrew gathering, women come in without anything but their hair for covering. But then when they go pray, and they have the woman goes forward and prays, and she will take a covering, and it's about this big, maybe 3 feet in diameter, and she puts it over her head, and she has no head any longer. Shoulders are gone, hair's gone, face is gone, it hangs down, her head is covered, and she prays. And when she gets through praying, she takes it off. So that was a gesture of being under authority, was what that was a gesture of. I'm under authority here. I have a covering. I'm covered with this authority outside of myself. And so that's the whole concept in chapter 11, that a woman's hair is giving her for a covering, and it shows power on her head, power of the word authority. In other words, it shows that a man is in authority. And when she prays, then, it shows that God is in authority. And it turns right around and says that a man should not have his head covered, that long hair is a shame to him, because he is stating that he has some covering other than God. And so God is his covering, God is his authority, and he goes directly to God. So you ask about, in particular, about the angels. It says here in chapter 11, verse 8, for the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. This is so unwoke. Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman was created for the man. For this cause ought the woman to have power on her head. So the power is the word like authority. Because she's created under the man, she's to have power on her head because of the angels. Now, there were some fallen angels who stepped out from under the power of God. So this is a statement of her being under the authority of God and then her husband. And that's the point you're making to the angels. Don't touch me. Don't touch my family. I'm under authority. When a woman bobs her hair off short and then prays or prophesies like that, she's saying to the angels, no one tells me what to do. I'm my own person. No man tells me what to do. We're equal. And then the devils can come to her and to her children and her family. That's the whole point of the thing.
Also in chapter 6, it's where it says that we would be judging angels someday. And God establishes a hierarchy here and also in Hebrews, that he's going to have his bride, the body of the sons of Adam who were born again, reign over the angels, or at least judge the angels in some way at some time. That's 1 Corinthians 6:3. And so this would be establishing that hierarchy in their view, that even though the woman will someday maybe be in judging angels, there's a hierarchical structure that God establishes, and understanding and determining to live our life inside of his structure places him on the throne in our life.
Now, I know some women out there who are not married who say, but what about me? What's my authority role? Well, you can, when you pray or prophesy, cover your head and make the statement that you're under the authority of God. And that is a statement to the angels as well. So the idea of a woman wearing a covering all the time is totally destroying the sense of what God's saying, that it's when you pray or prophesy that you have a covering.
I think it's interesting that he says, doth not nature teach you? Because it is intuitive when you see someone rebel that isn't even a Christian, that you see a woman that becomes a lesbian, say in Hollywood, and you look at the before and after. When that rebellion comes in her heart, she'll take her glorious hair and shave it off, or shave one side, or make it in some way, and it almost seems like it's graffiti. It's a disordered.
It's self-hate.
It seems that way, and I've never seen any. Have you ever seen any studies on it or anything?
No.
Why that's done in particular?
No. My main thing on this subject would be how unnatural it is for guys to have pretty long hair. Like I saw somebody that I have never been able to stand to listen to him sing because they always had long gray hair. He cut all his hair off. I didn't even know who he was. I thought, now I get to listen to that guy sing after 30 years because I could never stand to listen to him sing as long as he had long hair.
Clip
So it
that
goes both
microphone.
ways.
What?
Oh, I sent Ashley a thing to tie that down.
you
Make sure
leave it
there's some
alone.
slack in it so it doesn't keep pulling the microphone.
So it's a shame for men to have long hair.
I was teaching.
We've never made it in our
Thank you, my
55
dear.
years of ministry or 60 years of ministry, however long it's been, an issue. Like some of the women that I have turned to repeatedly for counsel and for instruction and when I need help in trying to decide what or how to teach, who got very, very, very short hair. And that's what they choose to do, and it's never been an issue. So I would tolerate a woman with short hair a long time before I tolerate a man with long hair.
I actually can agree with that.
I
Yeah.
was teaching a Bible study one time, and we came through this passage, and one of the guys had, mid-shoulder length hair, and he said, "Is it wrong for me to have long hair?" I said, "No, for most guys it is, but your hair is beautiful. You look so pretty." He cut it off.
That's reverse psychology. That's so funny.
Mean.
So you agree with me?
I do. I just cannot I think there's something so feminine about a
It
man
is.
with
It's
very
very
long,
feminine.
and especially when they like play with their hair or like fluff it or something. I'm like, what are you doing? Don't do that. It's just really
Unless it's their
unattractive.
beard, then it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine if it's a beard, but
It's like they're probably going to want to use my bathroom next.
yeah, it's not cool.
Now, what you need to know, though, that when around a woman with short hair, I'm not thinking she has short hair. That
Right.
doesn't come into my mind. I'm not judging her. That's not my place. It's between her and God and the angels. It has nothing to do with me. And I have absolute respect for a woman with short hair as much as I do with a woman with long hair. So there's no need for us to segment ourselves into
Yeah.
the
Right.
long-haired group and the short-haired group or something. We don't judge one another in that regard. But scriptures teach that, so we're going to teach what scriptures teach.
Yeah, it's a secondary issue, but we did see we have
It's not
seen.
even secondary in my thinking. It's not part of my concern
Yeah,
because she has long hair, and that's all my concern.
All right, carry on, Pumpkin.
Okay. So it says 3. In 1 Corinthians 13, where it talks about charity, is charity the same as love? I often hear people say love instead of charity. Please explain, and thank you.
All right, and when you go from one language to another, language A to language B, language A may have a total of 10,000 words in it. Language B may have a total of 50,000 words in it. Now, you can express everything in language A that you can express in language B, 10,000 or 50,000. Then what are all those 40,000 extra words? They're taking the same words and breaking it down into nuances. You say, how could you understand it without breaking it down into the nuances? Because in a given culture, the words not only have a context, but they have a sense of the implications of the word. For instance, I say, I love pizza. You don't have a vision in your mind of me going to bed with pizza.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. that's
why
wrong.
would you say
Get
that?
that out of my mind now.
I've known
Leave
some
it to
pe-
Papa.
I've known some people that do.
What?
Or if I say,
What?
sit there and eat it, sit there and eat the pizza. What's wrong with y'all?
What's wrong with us? Right.
Daddy, what are you thinking?
Or if I say,
Y'all would be surprised how much we have to cut out of this.
or if I say, I love babies. Everybody loves babies. But then I say, I love my wife. Or I might say, I love sex. So I've used 4 different ways I've used love. I might say, I love my brother in Christ. And so there's another usage of it. So in our English language, we automatically differentiate as to what that love is according to the context. Another time in English, we say Christ's hands were pierced. You can't say that in Greek because you got one word for palm of the hands, one word for the palm of the fingers, another word for the back of the finger, another word for the back of the hand, another word for the wrist. All five of those are hand in English. See, they're all hand. So the Greek is going to break that down where the English won't. But in the subject here is charity. The word, there are at least three words for love in the Bible. One of them is agape, another one is phileos, and another one is eros. Now, agape love is like a pure love you'd have for God or for your wife, or a pure love, just a unrequited love,
Non-erotic.
Yeah, non-erotic and non-demanding. And then you have a phileo love. That's like phileo brotherly love, like love of the brethren one for another. And then you got eros, and that is more along the line of a sexual love, an erotic love. So it breaks it down that way. But the concept of charity would be involved in the word love. When he says, when the Bible translates this as charity, it's because he's not talking about, in that context, 1 Corinthians 13, he's not talking about how we feel towards someone, what we project towards them. I love you. What he's talking about is the act of giving in love, the act of love transmitting something to another person. So that's the reason it's translated charity, just exactly like you'd use charity today. In other words, the translators of the King James Bible, which were wise and very discerning, and were basing their translation on 1,600 years of translation in multiple languages, understood what the text of the Bible was saying, and so they translated so the English reader would get an accurate rendering of what is meant there in that context.
I would go further and say the Holy Spirit also directed him in that.
I don't doubt that, but
There are other places that the word agape is translated in our English Bible as just love. Famously, when Peter is asked, "Do you love me?" one of those was agape. But like Dad said, this in 1 Corinthians 13, he's specifically talking there about love lived out. It is the actions that are the consequence of having love for your fellow man and what that looks like. And later when he says, "He that loveth God, loveth not God, knoweth not God, for God is love," and he's using agape, he's talking about more than just it lived out in that way. In other words, it's more than just charity towards someone else. It's also an action towards God and an emotion towards God. And so the Scripture is very careful with that definition, and by retranslating that, which many do, as simply love as opposed to charity, you lose the distinctiveness of that passage. It's very intentional that it's using charity and not love.
if you're going to read a Bible, you need to read one that's accurate to the original, and the King James Version is the only one out of 400 English translations that is accurate and faithful to the 5,000 plus manuscripts that come down to us from the first century.
I was listening to somebody recently preach out of Colossians using various manuscripts or English text. And I went home and I told my wife, I said, it was good. It was a good message, but it feels like somebody took a tomahawk steak and carved it off and ground it up and made a hamburger. Mm-hmm. And it was a good hamburger, but it could have been a tomahawk steak. And so it's a little sad.
Well, I have to say, when I read this question, my first thought was right here in our county and in our state, in our nation, people will be hurting this next week or this next month because of the lack of food stamps. I've never used food stamps. We've been pretty poor at times past and done without. But this would be a point of charity. It's not like I'm going to take care of the poor, hopeless people, but, we've been down and out. And there were people that helped us. And so charity is not a feeling. It's looking over and going like, I wonder if that family is going to be needing something. And then make an effort to find out and help that family. So it's been on my mind a whole lot the last 2 or 3 days because I want to show charity when charity is needed. And so I think the use of the word charity is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he says, verse 13:3, though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, give my body to be burned, have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. He's making the point there that if I'm not a giver, then sacrificing my body is not enough. I need to be giving. Charity suffereth long, is kind. Charity envieth not vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh not evil. He's talking about doing here. See, he's talking about responses. He's not talking about a feeling, not talking about some projecting toward someone. Charity never faileth. Whether it be prophecies, they shall fail. Tongues will cease. Knowledge will vanish away. We know in part, we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect is come, that which is in part shall be done away with. So in the meantime, exercise a charitable spirit and a charitable pocketbook toward people in need.
Yeah. And it's the why behind it.
Yeah.
That's why he says I can give it all to the poor and don't have charity, because you're doing it to vaunt up yourself, to say,
Yeah.
oh, look, here, because they got a camera. Okay, bring the camera over. I'm going to hand them some. But that's not charity. Okay, sweetheart, carry on.
Next question. It says, 4. What should I do when my kids fight over stuff that does not involve personal property and they tattle on each other? Once they were arguing over a patch of grass in a yard with plenty of grass for everyone. Sometimes they say, you should not have hit him. You should have come and told Mama about it. But then they're coming to complain about whatever over and over.
That's hilarious.
They have a term for that. Parents. That's because the kids are going to be kids.
I can tell you what Papa did to you and
I remember
Gabe.
what Papa did.
Why don't you tell them what the Papa did for you and Gabe?
Well, if you're going to fight over it, you obviously don't need it. Yeah, and
You're going to tell them about the line?
no, I remember the line.
Don't you remember? We had to divide y'all's room up. So they shared a room, Gabriel and Nathan. So Nathan didn't care about stuff. He's not a collector of stuff. But he is not the cleanest fellow there ever was. He was kind of a slob compared to Gabriel. Gabriel, from the time he was very young, was a collector of stuff. When we got ready to clean the attic out, when Gabriel was probably 6'5" or 6'6" by then, it was a conversation to get him to get rid of stuff that was, meant for a 10-year-old. He's a collector of stuff. So his room was very organized, and he had a whole lot of stuff. Well, there was just constant conflict, and so we just I can't believe you can't remember this. We put a piece of tape on the floor. And Nathan had this tiny little section in the
Nathan
bedroom.
kept complaining about Gabriel's stuff getting over on his side of the room.
Yeah, he was.
I had a twin bed and like 2 feet next to the twin bed. And that was my half.
That was
and then
his
the other 90% of the room was Gabe's
You
half.
do remember?
I don't remember the tape. I remember me having a small section.
Oh, it was a small section.
And it wasn't a mess either. I had all my Louis L'Amour books cataloged.
Well, let's put
There
it
you
this
go.
way. I told the boys, I said, I'll wash your sheets, but you have to take your sheets off and your pillowcases off and put them in the dirty clothes. I'll wash them and I'll put them back on. But I wanted to, Gabriel liked his sheets washed at least once a week or more. But I'd go in and I'd go like, how long is it going to be? I mean, the sheets would get slick.
I had a sleeping bag. I was fine with it.
It didn't bother him at all. I finally gave up. I'm the mom. I'm just going to change his sheets. I'm not going to put him under any pressure. But children are different, and boys especially. So you have to give them perimeters. And in the yard, it would be the same thing. If they fight over a piece of grass, I think I would have them all put their foot or their hands in a piece in the grass and say, okay, I'm going to give each one of y'all a lick for fighting over the grass. Just help them get themselves organized. Otherwise, divide things up as well as you can.
Well, if you remember what I used to do with them, and Nathan will remember this, if they were fighting over a spot of grass, I would go out and stake off that piece of grass and say, no one can play on this piece of grass now. And if they were fighting over some object, we would divide the objects up so that each person owned something. This is theirs. Anytime they want it, it's theirs. The other person gets it first, it's okay. It belongs to the person it belongs to. They had a right to it. And we stuck by that. And so everybody understood that. That eliminated fighting over things. Mm-hmm. If it was a common thing that no one could own, something kind of family-like, then again, if they fought over it, neither one of them got it. The girls could sit in that chair for the next week. And so it just was impetus to not fight over something, to create some kind of compromise. Otherwise, you're cut off from it altogether. So I wrote an article years ago in No Greater Joy magazine called, which you can get a copy of that right now if you write to us, free copy, six magazines a year. I wrote an article called Organize and Manage.
I remember that one.
Okay, remember that? And a lot of people found that really helpful. In other words, organize the home, organize the kids, organize the time. Make charts on the refrigerator, whatever you have to do. Make lists, property ownership, whatever. And then all you have to do is manage. They're not up against you. There's not a conflict between your nagging and they're doing it. It's law now. It's a law of the Medes and the Persians. Mm-hmm. And when you stick with that law and you become consistent and the kids know there's a consistent application of the law, the fighting stops.
I have to say that Shalom and Justin have done something almost like magic in their household. And they've spent a lot of time in our house. They lived with us for 4 months, the kids did. And I tried to analyze how they manage to raise their kids to where they intensely love each other, respect each other, and get along. And they have 4 sons. And so it's amazing the lack of conflict we had in our home. For
and two daughters and 4 sons.
Well, 2 daughters, but sons have a tendency to be a little bit more aggressive. But one thing that I know they do is that they each, from the time they were very small, they each had their own project of building a motorcycle or something like that. And by having a project, the big boys helped the little boys do stuff, and the little boys just idolized the big boys because the big boys could do stuff that they couldn't do. So, of course, now the big boys are just about adults, but they still maintain that same extreme loyalty and getting along with each other. And at the house, they do the same thing. Each boy has their own piece of equipment that they've worked on to ride bicycles and jump and all that kind of stuff. They live on kind of a hilly place. And the same thing with food. They help each other. The girls are very sacrificial in helping the boys with their food and everything else. We need to get Shalom on here sometime.
I actually told her that yesterday.
Because I spent 4 months analyzing them while they lived with us.
They were just exceptional. I mean, we had the
no conflict.
Daddy was away in Mexico in cancer treatment, which he got rid of it, by the way. They couldn't cure him here. He was going to die here. Went to Mexico and got long treatment, and it worked. So we had the kids. They were like our kids after 3-4 months. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was amazing. And they were better than my kids were.
Yeah, better than our kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing, too, when he came down with cancer, it was like, how could this happen? I mean, it was just like such a big thing to lose your daddy before he's ever even 40 years old, and the hospital didn't give him much chance, much hope. But now that I look back to it, it's been over 1.5 years, and he's cancer-free. I realized that time of trauma, of praying and believing God for a miracle that just didn't seem like it would happen. Even if he didn't survive, I can see that thing that came upon them was not a curse. It might have been meant to be a curse, but it was not a curse because they came out so much better, and they were already, doing just fine. But it really honed them in. And
I think one of the reasons, analyzing it, why the boys from the top down take care of the younger ones and look out for them, make sure they have fun, is the daddy did that. In other words, he's always been a good daddy, helping the boys, encouraging them, showing them things. He's a motorcycle mechanic, and he does construction of creates motorcycles from scratch, actually. And he won a piece in the magazine with the best motorcycle in this show. And so they're with him working, and he's not angry with them. He's not impatient with them. He's very patient and helps them along and schools them. And so it's a trickle down.
Yeah.
From the daddy, it just trickles down
Well,
to all the
the
kids.
boys worked with you all the time, but they still had the conflict. I think a lot of it's personality, too, because Gabriel was very, very dominant, and he's still very, very dominant. You can still raise kids like they've raised theirs and probably still end up with some conflict, but and it's not like...
And they may have some conflict at home we don't see.
Well, for the 4 months they lived with us, there wasn't
Well,
any.
they weren't at home then. They were still always...
I don't know.
Big
After
Granny's
4
house.
months, I'm going like, who left the bathroom and blah, 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 who's been into my food? I had.
So I want to recount some of what I've seen over my life. I remember one time we lived in the kitchen house, and we were not very well off.
Tell them what a kitchen house is.
We lived in a 16 by 16, something like
I
that.
think about 12 by 16.
12 by
We were
16.
white trash.
No, we weren't. We were homesteaders. That's what they call them now. But we were not well off. We were
4 months we lived there while we were building our house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were very poor. And somebody had given us donuts, and I don't remember who it was, but man, they were good. And we were so happy.
Don't tell that.
And so we had eaten almost all of the donuts, and there was one donut left. And the three of us older kids, Rebecca, Gabe, and I, we were fighting.
Never
over
going to
the
live that
donut.
down.
And so Dad, in his wisdom and his compassion,
Solomon.
yeah, wanted to show us the true and right way. And so he called us around the table. He said, "I'm going to split the donut between you. So you come here, and you here, and you here." And he holds the donut and he splits it between us, and then he ate both halves.
He's paid for it every day since.
And that's how. So it was hilarious even at the time. We were like, you got us, okay.
It was so funny that when I was a kid, he told me that story
Yeah.
all the time.
It was pretty funny. So first of all, there's nothing wrong with your children. This drives my wife nuts. My kids, my boys especially, maybe just my boys, have done this, and they will conflict. And if there's nothing to conflict over, like you said, they
Piece
will
of
have
grass.
a piece of grass to fight over. Play for kids is about learning, and it's about growing. And I have ridden with people that are in a car that is the most level-headed, most stable guy, steady, does one job forever, get in the car and go driving, and I just like, what happened to this fella? And who have you been replaced with? Because he's screaming at the traffic around, going super fast, right on their bumper, driving like, man, I'm like, what is happening? Like, this guy's... And then we get wherever we're going, and he calms down, gets out of the car. It's like, what, like I thought I was going to die. Why were you doing that? And sometimes people will not learn this lesson when they're a kid. And so when they grow up, they have things that they will fight with other people over, and it is good for kids to conflict over something and learn conflict mediation. I love the fact that my boys would, and it was a bazillion things, whatever, especially if there's only one thing, we're going to fight over it. And that's a fantastic opportunity for me to talk about and to engage in conflict management. Now, a few things. the reason I think that those boys are compassionate, we were talking about the Shalom's kids, is because Shalom is.
Yes,
she
she is.
typifies charity.
She really
more
does.
than just about anybody.
Yeah.
You cannot teach something that you don't do.
Yeah.
If I said, I've got a trainer, and I've got this physical trainer, I'm going to get in shape, and you go, okay, well, where are you guys working out? Well, we're waiting to get a gym with a ramp. Why? Because he can't climb the stairs. He's 650 pounds. Well, why do you have a trainer that's obese? Well, he knows a lot about it. What do you guys do? We get together and talk about how to do exercise. So do you do any? No. Well, often that's what happens with people training their children.
Mm-hmm.
They say, okay, well, we need to talk about conflict mediation, and shut up to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you need to control yourself before you teach your children, right? So that's the step A, control yourself. And then as the kids are conflicting over something, as they have the yard and they want to fight over the yard, make it so that there is a desire, a purpose for one of them to work with the other one. In other words, okay, you're upset about this grass because you guys both want this grass. Why do you want it? What can we do that okay, you can have this part of it and you have it? Doesn't really matter. What matters is that they learn to go through this without screaming at each other. I've often told my wife, I don't mind if the kids, especially our boys, I don't mind if they're having all kinds of difficulty with each other, as long as they don't cross the line with the way they speak to each other or how they act toward each other. In other words, you want the grass, you're fighting over it, I'm completely okay with that. The moment you raise your voice, now we're going to have a problem, and you're going to get a spanking, because you cannot talk to your brother that way. That's not... The moment you sling a fist, okay, now you cannot use violence. What you can do is argue over the grass, because this is a good time to do it. This is the time that the parents are sitting here and are able to mitigate this and make it a growing opportunity. And
what you don't want, though, is for one kid to win all the time because he's the dominant one, and the other one to give in all the time.
Right.
So that's the reason I was into eliminating the object they were fighting over and let them compromise, or dividing stuff into proportions so that everybody gets their share.
So there's a lot of stuff that isn't communal, and I was very careful with that. And I actually had some family that was aggravated with me because they came to our house, and one of their boys were very little, and they're playing with, I think it was cars, matchbox cars, and they're driving around, and one of the kids came over and they said, grab the car, and I think it was Jacob took the car back, and the kid started crying, and the mom said, well, no, he can keep the car. I said, no, he can't. That's Jacob's car. Well, doesn't he have to share? No, he doesn't have to share. It's his car, because he'll never learn to share if I make him share. Mm-hmm. All he'll learn then is irritation, that I'm bullying him and taking his stuff. But if it's his, then he'll learn to share. And my kids are incredibly generous. They are ready to help. And also, I didn't want to raise communists, so I wanted them to understand that property rights is a right thing to have, and you have to mitigate it and direct it. But basically, life is filled with conflict. It's difficult, whether you're driving or you're dealing in business, even marriage. Anything that you do is going to have where you have one goal, someone else has the other goal, and you have to negotiate out a appropriate balance. And it's great to learn that as kids. And then if it becomes bitter and you have to step in, that's when I say, this spot of grass that you guys have been fighting over, now I own it. It's my grass. Yeah. Neither one of you can have it. You both have to, and that's learning to mitigate conflict, because if it rises to the level that I get involved, you both lose it. And so there is an impetus to not get it to rise to the level to where Daddy gets involved.
One other thing, over the years, we've had people write and ask, and we tell them, as a family, sit down and start reading through To Train Up a Child together, and get back with us and tell us, how your kids are responding. And we have had some of the funniest letters over the years where kids read it and go like, wow, that's what we do. Really, a lot of fighting. We're screaming, and older kids even rebuke their parents and say, why don't you make little Susie do the right thing? And so the parents, after reading it with the children out loud and then discuss it, the parents are put in a position where they have to make the 3-year-old that's been making everybody's life miserable do the right thing, and the 3-year-old sees that everybody is on the same page now. And so for a while we did that. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but we went through where we had people read it out loud in the family and then get back with us so we would know how it was functioning. And it was an extremely good project. I felt like it was a 100% winner. So that's an idea too.
And I have found that if you get the thing in the family right, family's so fun. It's such a good time. It's just, I loved my childhood. I loved growing up at home. I loved my kids being in the house. I talk to people that go, oh, you have 4 kids, man, I'm sorry. And I don't get it, honestly. It is, you get this right, you get your children trained correctly, they're blessed, you're blessed, the community is blessed, God is blessed. So.
Yeah, we wrote a book called To Train Up a Child, sold over 1 million copies, and it's in about 10 foreign languages. So if you want something that Anderson Cooper hates, CNN despises, need to get To Train Up a Child.
And the thing is that makes me sad is in this, when you wrote that in the 90s, people were hungry for and desired to raise good kids. And I have seen kids that are of my peer group or even below, you coming up, that have legitimately terrible kids. And I know them, and I go, well, have you read To Train Up? Oh, no, I haven't read that. Well, do you not care? Do you not want to raise good kids? I mean, even if you think that some things you like or don't, get some book. I thought I turned my ringer on. Get better at this thing that you're doing, and don't just accept failure. Learn.
You wrote something in our latest magazine that I remember that I really appreciate. It said, if you want to be a parent, then be the best parent that you can be. Every day, try to be a better parent than you are. And I like that.
We prayed that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were
I'm thankful
up.
I had parents that had that mindset.
All right, next question.
Okay.
I think there's an awakening myself. I see it over the years. We have seen fads and changes, and we can document within a month or two when things are turning. And I feel a turn right now where women are looking at their little kids and going like, I don't want to end up with a child that I am ashamed of. I don't want to end up with a son that's a sissy and more upset about his lipstick color than he is about using a hammer. And those mothers, I think those families now have come to full circle and go like, I'm getting off this train. I'm going to get on. And I feel like there is a turn. And I feel like the people that are listening to us right now are part of that turn. And the people they share it with can be a part of that turn. And we're going to see.
I hope so.
Like these stories we're telling you here, we've got 3 books, No Greater Joy Volume 1, No Greater Joy Volume 2, and Volume 3. That were follow-up to Train Up a Child, and they're full of stories and experiences and suggestions on how to handle things, just like we've been talking about. Yeah. So,
and they're helpful. They really are.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on, Pumpkin.
Number 5, it says, my question is about Proverbs 31, 10 through 31. Is it literal for women, or is it a shadow of the bride of Christ / church?
We have a woman at the table that wrote about that. Take it away, Deb.
That bugs me. Proverbs 31, Mama wrote it to her son, so he would know what kind of woman that he should pick out. I was thinking about, this is something I've been playing with all week long. What sort of business or job can a woman do that is biblical, that a woman that God encourages a woman to do that is a biblical job. Because most women think, what can I do in the home? Proverbs 31 has a lot of things listed. A woman can be a realtor, because this woman was highly praised because she was a realtor. She bought and sold property. She was a farmer. She planted a vineyard. She was a merchant. She sewed and made clothes and sold them online. She had charity. She was a firm director of her home.
I don't think it was online, though.
Huh?
I don't think it was online.
You don't think it was on? Well, I don't know if it was online, but it was.
Well, it could have been. They could have had a line hanging out. Yeah, go ahead.
It was about 950 BC. So.
And
Perfect.
She was a director of her home. She didn't ask permission. Can I do this or do? She told the people that were under her. She handled her home. She was a forceful leader, and her husband had confidence in her. He knew she wasn't going to do anything weird. That was the whole first thing. The husband's heart was safely with her because he had confidence in her. And in the ultimate end, she dressed classy in purple, and her house was nice because she lined the walls with tapestry. The whole thing tells who and what a woman can be before God, and it's not very restrictive. It is very open to be a very successful leader. And a woman can be in government. Deborah was a judge. A woman can be a leader in war. She led the armies to war. There's so many things a woman can do, and this is given so women know what they can do and what they should do. They should make their life count.
So, and this is a question. When the scripture says that the woman is to be a keeper at home, I would say that that's not limiting things. It's defining responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the wife's, the mother's primary responsibility, first responsibility, is to be a keeper at home. That doesn't limit her from other things.
Right.
It's just that's the primary. Now, can she be a truck driver and a keeper at home? Probably not.
Probably not.
Not unless the kids are gone.
Unless the kids are gone and grown up. Or
and the
unless-
husband rides in the back.
Yeah.
So
Different seasons
right,
in the
different
life.
seasons of
when
life.
the babies are babies, then she's there at the house.
That's her primary, and even if that's her primary responsibility and the thing that she's doing, the Proverbs 31 woman dressed her children well, so she's
Yeah.
doing this while they're young,
Yeah.
but she's doing it while running her home.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't laying aside her responsibility in order to pursue a different responsibility. She was primarily a keeper at home, and in that task, she was dressing the kids in royal-looking robes and buying a field and so forth. So it isn't saying you can't. The passage to be a keeper at home. It's saying you must, right? So it's not saying you can't be a realtor. It's saying your God-given responsibility is to keep your home, meaning the husband's primary responsibility is to provide that home, but it's not cutting anything off.
All
I like
three
that.
of our daughters make money from home.
Yeah.
Rebecca bakes bread and cinnamon rolls and stuff like that, and takes them into town once a week to a marketplace and sells them. And Shalom and Shoshana both market from the same business from home and make good money too. And
When a woman has a project at home that can involve the kids, then she's got something. But if a woman does not have a project and she's got a bunch of little kids, you know what she's going to be doing?
Yeah.
She's going to be
Filling her
scrolling.
face with that.
And she's not going to be present with her children. If she's at home, it wouldn't make a bit of difference because her brain and her heart is right there. The kids are just in the way. So it is better if a woman has a very demanding project going at home to where she needs her kids to help her out. She can be a homeschool mama and still need her kids to help her out. What do you think about this? You smell that. Do you like that? So, do you like this one or do you like this one? You know.
Just requires balance.
So it incorporates the children into whatever she's doing. I suspect the Proverbs 31 woman was dragging her kids along saying, you bring the shovel and you bring the this and let's plant the, you know, and getting them involved in planting their vineyard or whatever they were doing.
And teaching them to manage.
Yeah, so I encourage the girls that are on my line, I encourage them to find something that they are making themselves better human beings and a way to make a living. There's one little girl on my line that she's got 2 small children, but she's all the time coming up with a new design or something that she's peddling, making money, and she's picking blueberries and redoing and selling them. You know, what mama with 2 little bitty babies go out into the woods and pick blueberries? She does. You know, 1,000 things that she gets involved in, and I know that she's not, you know, busy doing nothing.
Well, when you guys did the Raleigh Springs Mall, you were often involved. It wasn't we knew you were at home when Dad was out.
Yeah, I was painting at home.
But you were also helping pull cypress stumps out of the swamps, and you were at the mall and we were with you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a family activity.
If it hadn't been, we would be in trouble because for 10 years, that's what he did. And he had me painting at home, and he'd take my work in to sell it. And then all of a sudden, he was sick. And he was too sick his brain wasn't functioning. And so I have step in and like, you know, how am I going to do this? You know, I have a brand new baby, and I took my baby with me. But because I was his right-hand man, I was able to function, and for that 8 weeks, run the show. And I was gone all day long, so I was not a keeper at home. He was the keeper at home. But, you know, there's
Extenuating
times
circumstances
in life
happen,
where
yeah.
you have to adjust.
Now, Deb's gone into this in great
With your-
detail.
your-
Deb's gone into this in great detail in her book Created to Be a Helpmeet. And so if you want to read a great deal of wisdom, now that book has made tremendous impact. Thousands of families, we hear from them saying that it changed their life, it saved their marriage, so forth. But, you know, we're living in a time when there's a trend to wokeism in the Christian church. Many Christians are repudiating what the Bible says, repudiating some of what we said here today, and they're moving away from it. That's not going to change the facts. It's not going to change our message.
It's not going to change the Bible.
The book,
right.
what she wrote in her book is, if you want to go back to the old paths, the biblical paths, get her book. What was the name of it again?
Created to be his helpmate.
Created to be a helpmeet. And then I wrote one in a follow-up, created to need a helpmeet. That's for the guys. The girl read that one first. She likes it. You change, get that other one, just lay it on the counter and let your husband say, what is it? And get him reading that, and oh boy, it'll be good after that.
I was writing right before I came down here an article for the newsletter, and I've been thinking about the
Magazine.
for the magazine.
It used to be a newsletter. It's a magazine.
About
I'm old
35
enough.
years
You're
ago.
Good luck changing me. You know, we talk about created to be a helpmate. One of the issues that people have, I think, with the wokeism, the idea is that I need to change my spouse, and even with people that have a practiced biblical hierarchy and structure in marriage, the idea is I need to change my spouse, and so I'm going to do this thing so that my spouse does this thing. And I was thinking about it in terms of being seasick. To keep your balance requires 2 things, right? You have your inner ear that tells you your attitude, your you know where your pitch is, and then you have your eyes. And those 2 things should work together. And if you close your eyes and you stand there, you'll start to move, right? But if you also get your inner ear messed up and you try to stand there and look, the world spins around you. You need 2 different things that are both talking to each other to keep your balance correctly. And the husband and the wife are different. What your book does is it says to the wife, here's how to be the best wife. Here is what God says about being the wife. And often what the world will offer you is the second best, and that is to say, here's how to make your husband listen to you in a way that allows the primary thing that keeps your balance be only the inner ear or only the eyes, and cut off the other one. Because when you're on a boat and the ship is moving, they get in conflict, and when they get in conflict, you get sick and you feel like garbage. And instead of saying, okay, I want to minister to my attitude, it's how do I fix my husband's attitude? Or instead of how I want to fix mine, how do I fix my wife? And the biblical view is God's given you multiple things that give you the whole view, and you need to do the right thing instead of making your spouse do the right thing.
You don't have to fix the devil to be righteous.
That's right. And that's what the critique that I always hear is the wife saying, well, it didn't fix my husband. Well, it's not supposed to.
It might not fix your husband,
It's to, and the same
Many
thing.
times it does, though. I mean, we get
It
reports
does.
by the hundreds of husbands getting fixed.
I have.
That's not the wrong word.
I understand. We're
Some
not
of them-
have any more kids with that woman. Fixed as in.
Go ahead.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
I have gone to a new place and met a pastor and gone into their house and talked to them, and they go, "You're Debbie's son?" Yeah. The only reason we're still married is your mom's book. I've heard that a dozen times where they didn't know who I was, and then okay, well, you're Debbie's son. And I've had other people say our marriage was good, but now it's great.
Well, I've had a lot of women go like, "You messed me up," but I have to know that's okay.
That's right.
You know, everybody's got to honor God or not honor God. It's their business. But I want to say yesterday, I can't remember where we were, walking down with the figs or wherever. I told Mike, I said, I just so wish I could bring the women along with me so they could have what I have.
Aw.
It's just so precious. It can be so good. And by the time you get 75 years old, you want somebody that loves you and cherishes you and treats you kind, and I said, it's just so easy. And Mike said, it's not easy.
That's
You
right. It
remember what
requires
you
effort.
said?
I just said you was married to a good man.
And then she hit him with a blueberry
He
branch.
said, we made decisions one day at a time.
That's right.
And we made decisions to forgive. And I mean, sometimes you have to forgive a lot. Sometimes you just have to overlook a lot. And then the day comes when it's easy to overlook because it's so far back, and it just seems like wasn't that bad after all. But it's one day at a time. And some of y'all, the women listening to this, are married to men that are angry and selfish and not going to change. Nothing's going to change with them. But your heart can be filled with joy and gladness. And God will, I say over and over, if you're thankful, if you have a heart full of gratitude, God will bless you. He loves a thankful heart. You just read about Thanksgiving in Scripture, and God just loves people that says thank you and lives like it. I'm talking too much.
No,
I love that.
Preach it, sister. Go
That was
ahead. We'll take
beautiful.
an offering now.
It is. I was watching somebody that in our church play the piano. Or I know it was the guitar the other day, and they're sitting there playing the guitar, and I hold a chord strum a little bit, right? But they were
Just like
and
that.
it looked so easy. And I thought, man, I wish I could do that. And right on the back of that, I thought, well, I guess I don't wish enough because I don't practice.
That's good.
It does look easy. It does look easy, and it is once you are sanctified through the process of marriage. But it does require effort. It requires intentional effort, and the same with child training. And it bothers me because I love kids. I love my kids. I want kids to have the joy that I had, that my kids have. but it requires effort.
Yeah.
We saw the other day where a woman completed the Appalachian Trail, 80 years old. We have a local friend who walked it too, completed it.
So you starting soon, or?
And you know,
Definitely.
talk to people who've done that. There are places they get wet, they get cold, they just want to quit, and they keep going, and they keep going. Have beautiful days, sunny days, good people around them, and then there's times when they're afraid, or when they're hungry, or when they twist their ankle, and it's the ones that keep going that reach the stage of glory. And so marriage is like that. It is dealing with every issue one at a time, coming out on top of that issue, keeping on until you're the end. And then there's great glory. And you don't remember, if you talk to somebody that's on it, they'll tell you the wonders of it and the beauty of it and how much they enjoyed it. And those things that happened that were so difficult, they forget those things. They don't seem to matter because of the glory at the end of the journey. And so that's where we are. We're at the glory at the end of the journey. And it seems like we've had it easy. To me, it seems like we haven't had difficulties. But if I were to go back and start telling stories, people say, "Ooh, I can't believe that," you know. So it's just keeping on and winning each battle
That's cool.
to the glory of God.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. I think we ought to stop there.
You guys make up a lot of really cool analogies for marriage. It's
Long life.
yeah.
Lots of marriage. I know. I don't know when it happened, but I'm the old married guy now. 25 years. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. Again, we'll be back next week. If you haven't seen it yet, my dad is teaching through the book of Romans. It's about 5 or 6 minute messages. I got the idea for this.
Daily Bible Manna.
Daily Bible Manna. I felt like God was directing this way. I mentioned it to Dad, and Dad said, this is exactly what God has been on my heart. And the responses that we've had have been in 50, 60, 100 responses in each video message, and it has been very uplifting. When I was growing up, maybe 4 or 5 nights a week there in Memphis, my dad would have a Bible study, and the Navy guys that were coming through would be there for a couple of months in Millington, and they would ship out again, and Dad would teach through Romans just like he's doing, sitting in a rocking chair. And I saw many guys have their lives changed, grow, and I still know some of them. It was foundational for me. I'm a pastor now, and it was foundational for me and who I am and for my life. If you haven't, I want you to do this not because we get anything out of it, but because I think that it will make a difference. I think in our area, revival is a breath away from happening. I
It
see
really
it.
is.
I see it coming. And I think it's not just here. I think that we're a breath away from revival in America. And I never thought I would say that.
Yeah.
But
Maybe a prayer breath.
a prayer breath away.
The children need to be watching that. It's only 5 minutes long.
It's 5 minutes.
Every
and,
single day, your little, even 2 and 3 and 4 year olds.
and walking in the Spirit is not the same as not sinning. It is choosing God every moment. It's choosing God first. And so get up first thing in the morning and choose God. And by all means, read the Scripture. Sometimes that's hard. Sometimes you're on the way to work. You're busy. Dad has been studying this for 50 years. 60 years. 65 years.
65 years.
65
old.
years.
And teaches it so plainly. I'm adding this plug because I think it will be a blessing to you. And so if you haven't checked that out, check it out now. We have an email we just started yesterday, so you can subscribe to it, and it'll pop up in your email box. And you can watch those every day and just be blessed.
Yeah, none of us make any money off anything that we suggest you buy. I don't get royalties, don't get any money from it. You buy it. That's between you and No Greater Joy Ministries, and that money goes back into reaching people for Christ.
Yep. Okay, thank you for joining us. We'll see you back next week.